Welcome everybody, and it's so nice to be joined today by Dan and Mel Marsden, who are the founders of Lounge Underwear. Now, your business is absolutely exploding in terms of growth right now. I read the other day that you have grown so fast that you've changed where you work 4 times, your actual place. Is that correct? 4 times already?
I think we're on 5 now, and we're actually in the middle of another move as well to another new HQ. It's pretty insane.
It. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, incredible growth. And you're in the fast track 100. So I've just got to say, congratulations. I mean, you're 3 years old as a business and you are already a multi-million turnover business. You are in numerous countries around the world. So the first thing I want to ask, okay, is when I was looking at Lounge Underwear online, I saw the fantastic, what do you call it? A slogan or whatever, but comfort made sexy. Who came up with that? Because that is genius.
That would be your one and only.
Is it something that just came to you, or is it just loads? You were just playing for ages with the words and what have you? I mean, it's just brilliant, and I'm interested in the process of how that happened.
I think even with the name Lounge, we just bounced things around, I guess, didn't we, Dan? The business and the brand was definitely not first going to be named Lounge when we first started talking about what it was going to be and what we were going to name it, and then comfort made sexy. I think that probably came, would you say, down a good 3 or 4 months into the business, maybe even a bit later. I think the way that we developed our kind of brand strategy and what we wanted to ensure that our values were kind of came, it evolved and it changed over time. But yeah, I think I probably just woke up one day and said to Dan, I guess this phrase, it sounds quite cool. What do you think? And he'd have just gone, love it. Things click.
Yeah, well, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You see a lot of this kind of stuff, and that just really jumped out. So the first kind of angle I'd love to explore with you is a husband and wife working together, which I'm guessing there are challenges to that as well as fantastic elements to that. I guess there's both, right? But what was the kind of moment when you both decided, right, we're going to launch a business together?
There wasn't a specific moment for Lounge. So basically the way it worked was I started up loads of businesses straight out of college. And then Mel, so we first met in college. Well, we actually met in primary school. But then essentially, yeah.
Wow.
So me and Mel started going out with each other in first year of college, wasn't it? So
yeah,
we were
good memory.
16, 17. And so after college, I started up loads of companies. Essentially, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and own my own business. And then Mel had gone to uni. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Mel, you'd come out of uni and we'd started up a company that was essentially importing off-the-line dresses straight from China. There's a company called Fashionize we'd started selling them on eBay. It was kind of just to make a bit of money on the side, essentially. Whilst I was doing another 1 or 2 companies, I think, alongside that. But it was just as Mel came out of uni, and that was going well. But again, we were taking learnings off that, and essentially, Lounge was built backwards. So it wasn't like, oh, we had this amazing idea to build this company around underwear. It was we had this amazing marketing strategy around social media. And influencer marketing, because this is going back 5 years. So this is like the real boom of influencer marketing, and when likes of Instagram and Facebook were just going crazy. So the company was reverse engineered. This is the massive difference around a lot of companies that I think were founded at a similar time in a similar space. That a lot of those guys were they couldn't find a product they were looking for, or they were particularly passionate about something. Whereas Lounge is built around business, essentially. Is we knew how to market a product. There was loads of criteria that went into it, like it had to be cheap to ship, brandable, so when people wore it, you knew what company it was, even down to the size of it. Had to go into what was classed at the time as a Royal Mail large letter, so we could post it globally for relatively cheap, large margins, cheap to store, and cheap cheap to bring in initially because we didn't have any money. We started with £1,000, still had no outside investment. And it just so happened that underwear was the perfect product to fit around this kind of marketing strategy. So it wasn't like like I say, a light bulb moment of, oh, this is the product. It was slightly different.
Yeah. So in terms of, and I think I can't believe you're a childhood sweethearts. That's just lovely. You don't hear that these days. It's just amazing what you do, but not very often.
He's all right. I'll keep him.
But I was going to go to what are the dynamics between you both. And before we go into that, I've just got to say huge congratulations to you, because I understand you are the proud parents of a newborn baby. How you both look remarkably bloody brilliant for parents with a newborn.
Oh.
What's the secret here? What's going on? How are you doing this?
You should have seen this before. We looked even better.
Huge congratulations on that, guys. But yeah, so what is the kind of, how do you divide the roles and responsibilities between you both then, in terms of running the business?
I think this is one of the, well, for me anyway, one of the key successes of Lounge, because me and Mel are essentially like yin and yang. We're literally two different sides of the coin, so we have totally different sides of the business that we kind of tackle. So whereas I'm very much on the kind of financial business strategy, I guess, general steering of the ship and scaling of the company, Mel's very much on the, which you can touch on in a bit if you want, Mel, like the brand, community, female empowerment side, which is the two kind of key elements of what makes Lounge so successful in my eyes. And like our motivations as well within business are completely different. So yeah, like I say, it's like yin and yang. We're two different sides of the coin, but together it's perfect.
And Mel?
Yeah, so as Dan touched on, for me, ensuring that we're essentially using our platform responsibly and talking to young women in a way that I would now talk to my newborn little girlie, is my key driver, really. I mean, Dan and I, we work collaboratively on huge amounts of what we do as Lounge, but like Dan said, that kind of divide, I suppose, in terms of what we class as our responsibilities, I think is the real beauty behind the brand, because we're both working towards the same goal, but have different journeys of ways that we're going to get there, which I think is really special.
Yeah. And are there ever any moments whereby the kind of responsibility, they become very close to each other? I mean, how do you resolve those matters? I mean, listen, I'm not prying into a relationship. I'm just understanding the dynamics in terms of how do you make a decision if there's a bit of an impasse because, you know, someone's got to, or does that not happen because you've got such clear differentiation between what you do?
I don't think it, well, I don't think it really happens because I think we know each other's strengths. No. So it depends what the decision is. Then obviously the person the strengths lie with that person will make the call. Yeah. A lot of people kind of say this, almost like, how do you do it when you're working together 24/7? Then obviously you live together. There's no kind of break. But I think it helps, obviously, that we kind of got into a relationship whilst we were so young. We've almost known no different. And I was speaking to someone about this the other day. It's like, I think if it was completely flip side, so say if it was one of us that owned the business and the other one was working for another company, I don't know how that would work, because in my eyes, to scale Lounge like we have and to start a business like we have, you've got to saturate yourself in it. And this isn't a job, it's a lifestyle, right? It's literally 24/7, 365 days. So if you've got a partner that isn't invested like you into that, I don't know how you can do it, because there's no like off switch. But obviously when I come home and Mel's there and is still in the thick of it, there's no, like, I guess, being pissed off with the other person, because it's like, oh, just put your books down for a minute and chill out, because you're both in the same boat.
Okay, so what about obviously the pressures of having a newborn baby now? Has that added to the pressure cooker in any way, shape or form of growing such a fast growing business?
I think it's just changed the dynamic. So obviously I'm now working from home. It's almost weirder now that we're not together 24/7, if that makes sense. And that was the bit that I think, especially for me, that I had to get used to. But I guess we're a bit tighter than before, but we've had a bigger baby to deal with than this little one that does a few tears here and there. So I think we're coping okay. But yeah, obviously it is challenging, but I think we're finding a good balance so far. So, yeah.
So let's get back to, and you just said a really good quote there. You've got a bigger baby, and that baby's 3 years old and growing like the clappers. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you are in the UK, you're in a number of countries in Europe, you're in the US, you're in Australia, which is just mind-blowing. So many countries, so already. And it'd be great to extract some nuggets from you in terms of how do you therefore start to grow a brand that grows so quickly that you can then start to scale it into other countries? Because a lot of people want to do that, and a lot of people never manage to achieve that. It'd be good to know your thoughts. Any tips, as I said at the beginning, that you could give us in terms of how you've done it?
We don't do it. We don't go out there and say, "Oh, we're going to hit this country" as such. It happens organically. So obviously, the way e-commerce works at the moment, you can essentially ship globally, from day one. I mean, you can do that just with raw mail. So essentially, when we first started growing, we'd naturally see what countries were, were booming more than others, and then we start to segment that store out, and then we start to build a marketing strategy at that point. It's not like I think Germany might work, let's give it a go. It's Germany's naturally growing, and it's almost like a byproduct. Let's put a strategy around it.
The core of what we do definitely and especially initially came from influencer marketing. So obviously that where their audiences were allowed us to then reach those people, and then those countries were organically then growing, and then it snowballs from there, really. I mean,
is that are more countries going to be added to the list before we know it? I mean, is it just now that you've cracked the formula, is this just going to grow and grow and grow, and you're going to enter more and more jurisdictions as you so choose to go into them?
Yeah, totally. But we've got countries that we're already in. We do a fair amount of business in, but then it almost just goes over that threshold, and it's also a timing piece. But like I say, and then you start to build out more of a strategy around that market, and then you start to make it more localized with better delivery services, with localized languages, along with obviously all the marketing that comes along with that as well.
Yeah. Mel, I'd just like to pick up on something you said a moment ago around using influencers. Now, I couldn't help but notice and be amazed by the fact that you've got 2 million Instagram followers, which is just, to me, that feels like a huge number. I mean, again, congratulations on that, because that really does show that you've got a very engaged following. Is it to build up that kind of following? I guess it's more than just using influencers, right? They're a catalyst to get some momentum. But how do you actually go around building such a big following?
That's such a hard question. I mean, it's myself that, well, it's a number of people, but in terms of the Lounge Underwear organic account, it's myself that runs that page, very closely eyeballed by Dan to see what I'm up to. And I mean, yeah, influencer marketing is a huge one. Obviously, that all of that kind of what we call our female family drives that kind of surge towards our page. It's tough because, I mean, even lately it feels like the page is growing rapidly, and now we're at that point where I think we're on 2.2 now. So you only see it then go 2.3 or 2.4, so you can look in your insights. Whereas in the early days, it was nice because you could see how things were growing
number by number,
just by looking. Yeah, literally. It's a super hard question to answer. I think it's consistency. It's putting out a brand message in a story that people genuinely want to connect with and engage with and come back to view again. Obviously, you've got to work with the algorithms of Instagram that are forever changing, and make sure that you don't drop that engagement and that you really are keeping people close. I think the main thing that we try to do is just talk to people like they're essentially like our best friend, and make sure that our tone of voice as a brand allows people to actually genuinely have an authentic connection and kind of feel like they're just having a chat with you. And And to do that through essentially an image and a small caption is, it's not easy, but I think we've got to a point now, we've got such a high female following on our account that people come to us for, I suppose, a bit of a lift. It's a group of women together that, although especially in the pandemic, you're all in different rooms all around the world, but you can kind of go to that area of essentially our Instagram page, and just, you've got that comment section, you just got something that makes you feel good, and kind of lifts you up.
Yeah. Now, thinking of the innovation side of your business, I was amazed that, and of course it seems obvious when you read it, but people are obviously buying your products and not trying them on, which therefore means that you've created a way that people can find that perfect size. What is that way then? How have you done that? How have you created technology or whatever you use to enable you to do that, and obviously so successfully in the process?
I'm guessing you mean the fit, what we call the fitting room. So the way people can go online. Yeah, it's essentially like a short quiz where you can put your information in. It basically just gives you the confidence that you are picking the right size. But this is so one of the main problems that we found, especially in underwear, is bridging that gap between a brick and mortar store and an e-commerce store. So the really hard job that we've got is, you go in and you buy, say, a pair of leggings or a hoodie. You've got five SKUs, extra small to extra large, relatively easy. You've got a pretty good chance you're going to get the right one.
Yeah.
You go down to bra SKU size level, and you've got like 50 variants, because you've got all your cup sizes and all your back sizes. So it makes it a hell of a lot harder and a lot more likely that you're going to pick the wrong size, especially when you've got cross-border sizing. So the whole idea with this, like I say, was to bridge the gap and give people that confidence that you don't necessarily need to go into store, because previously as well, traditionally, a lot of women like to go into store and obviously actually try it on in a fitting room beforehand. But essentially this is like I say, an online quiz where you go in, you put your current sizes in, it asks you a few questions about how your current bra fits, and then it essentially gives you a result at the end of it, either confirming your bra size or saying we think you'd be better with X or Y. And it's just reaffirming and giving people that confidence to actually buy online. Having said that, the offering that we actually give the majority of the world is it's free returns and free delivery most of the time. So even if you get the wrong size, there's no downside, because you can send it back and send an exchange in for free of charge.
So therefore, people are very happy that are you saying therefore it's just a much easier process because of that?
Yeah, there's no downside anymore to shopping online. If you don't like it, you can return it for free. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy now. There's no huge postage expenses, because most companies swallow it as well. It is, especially with COVID now, it's forced us, I suppose, the older generation that were probably a bit more reluctant to shop online, into e-commerce. And I think a lot of those guys are actually finding, Jesus, why is it taking me so long to switch?
So that's the fitting room. You also mention the customer experience. Now, this is obviously something that is mentioned a lot, but not everybody walks the walk, do they, in terms of the customer experience? So clearly, this is something that you've nailed. What is your definition? What is the real meaning of customer experience to you guys, and how have you really been able to make it a key part of your brand?
Obviously, the foundations of the brand were built with Dan and I. So right in the beginning, we were picking, packing, not really picking that far, because it was just circle around our living room, or not even then. It was before that, was in IKEA pigeonholes. And the customer experience is obviously something that was a huge part of what we did really early on in the brand. And I think what we've tried to do is to keep that, what's the right word? Keep that kind of humble beginnings in the way that we actually speak to our customer. One thing that our head of customer always says is that we want to have the best customer experience in the world. And I think we use these kind of phrases across numerous different parts of the business, but we don't say them lightly. We mean it. And I think our customer experience team, I hold my hands up to them. They are fantastic. And I think it's the same as what we do on Instagram. It's talking to people just normally, and like you're in a room having a chat with them, so that when they think about Lounge and they want to, they want to come back and they want to have that chat again, and almost have that like personal experience with Emily from the customer experience team at Lounge. It's so important these days, and the customer experience doesn't just live in email anymore. It's literally in your DMs on Instagram. Everything's so instant that I think just being able to chat with our customers in that really kind of normal best friend kind of way is just makes everything so much easier.
So I'll tell you what's become really noticeable talking to you guys over the past 25 minutes or so is just how real and authentic you are. And that's something that really comes across in your Instagram account. Women of all different shapes and sizes, real women on your, on your Instagram. I guess that's a deliberate thing you've done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we make a conscious decision to make sure that our platform, that we've got 2.2 and it's growing rapidly, million followers. If we don't use that platform responsibly to show what the world encompasses, which is, different people, we are humans, we are all different, then I would be ashamed essentially of our company and our brand. I think just making sure that, our audience is so conscious of, I've been a young woman, I've grown up in a world where it didn't necessarily look like it does now. Thankfully didn't really have social media at that time, but there was different ways of communicating the same message, which is that you should look a certain way and you should feel a certain way. But I think what we try to make sure that we do is just put out the normalness of the world, and the fact that there is beauty in the fact that all of us are different. And it sounds super cliche, and loads of brands kind of say that they're celebrating, they're doing it, but I do think it comes from a very real and genuine place. One thing I always say is that for the Instagram account, for me, it kind of feels like I'm like a hidden influencer. So this is not my page, this is Lounge Underwear, but it kind of allows me to push my own personal values into the world. And hopefully that kind of comes across with the decisions we make on the platform.
And everything you've said there is I can see now exactly why, therefore, you have got that following. You've absolutely explained it so well in terms of how you're creating something that people can relate to, feel comfortable with, and celebrates everybody. So we've spoken about the following. It'd be great to now move towards growth. And Dan, this is something you said that this is very much with your hat on in the business, your responsibility, world domination. So, and very quickly, guys, you're on your way there. What have been some of the key lessons that you've learnt from growing so fast? One of the things I've not even asked you is how many people do you now have, for example? But yeah, over to you. What are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities that you've come across along the way?
There's loads of challenges in regards to scaling the business at our rate, because very few companies have done it. So you haven't essentially got any like templates or similar businesses that you can kind of look up to and go, oh, that's how they did this. It's also not a case of growing for the last 10 years, 10% year on year, where it'd be easy to kind of forecast and predict your growth, because we've got such a short history and grown at such unprecedented rate. Just predicting, even down to one of those, how much stock do I bring in next year?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we could grow 50%, or we could grow 100%. We could grow 200% next year. We do, last year we just over 250%. There is no way we could have predicted that. And obviously you've got lead times on your stock. So it's just these growing pains. So they're amazing problems to have. But you obviously do get problems with scaling a company like ours. So there's loads of learnings we can take, obviously, but I think I've digressed from your original question, but yeah.
No, I mean, you're talking there, it feels like there's an element of you've just got to find your way through. You've got to way through it with certain decisions, especially you were saying how much stock in terms of how much do you keep. How about people? How many people do you have?
We've got circa 120 now. Like I say, so it started with me and Mel. That's in 5 years. Like I say, one of the key points for me is and Pip, who's our little camera poo.
Head of staff happiness.
Yeah. I think one of the most impressive things from my point of view is that we've grown. We had £1,000, still had no outside investment. It's just completely organic growth. Had no kind of PE firms or big investment companies come in. And it's essentially, it's been bootstrapped, and we just heavily reinvest. We're a company that's run for growth. We don't run it like a lifestyle company, and everyone that joins the company, we kind of instill in them how ambitious we are and our end goal of becoming the biggest underwear brand in the world. And that is essentially our end goal.
So something I've just got to come back to is the fact you've grown from 2 to 120. A business that's only 5 years old, especially over 12 months. Well, 12 months of that has now been into COVID. How have you found growing the team so quickly? How have you been able to create the family dynamic, the culture to your business? What has that been like as an experience?
That's people's, without doubt, from my point of view, the hardest thing about scaling the company, because I think probably 50 out of those 120 have come in the last 12 months whilst we've been in COVID. So a lot of them had to be onboarded remotely. And the way we've created such an amazing culture, which is one of the keys and the successes to Lounge, is people being in office. They've been able to obviously socialize, build amazing friendships within the company, learn from their peers, and just be immersed in, the company that's Lounge. And you take everyone out of that and they're all working remotely and can't, you can have Zooms, but you can't build relationships over a Zoom like you can in real life. It's just not possible. So it's been amazing, because obviously we switched literally overnight from everyone in house to everyone working from home, and now we've got, bear in mind, our average age is I think it's about 25. So everyone took to it pretty much second nature, because obviously they've been brought up with technology. But everybody can't wait to get back into the office, because everybody loves the culture and loves the energy and the vibe that is Lounge and working for Lounge. It's I think a lot of the young people as well now, that they want more than just a career, and it's the only question isn't, oh, how much am I being paid? It's more than that, like what are the benefits, what's the culture, what's the lifestyle like. It's just modern business.
We do literally put people at the core of the business, and that just comes naturally. I mean, when I say people, I mean, yes, our community, but also the people that actually work behind the brand. And I think that we've seen this crazy growth in terms of numbers, but in terms of the amount of people that work for us too. And to have grown a team that quickly and have people remain so closely connected, also through a pandemic where we've more than doubled our team, but it genuine, like there is a genuine family feel amongst everyone. I mean, we have platforms and we have the ways of staying connected. We've done like tea at 3 every Wednesday, where we have put different groups of people on a Zoom and just say, have a chat, have a cup of tea. We all have a cup of tea. We've done like yoga from home. We've done these ridiculous what do we call them? Dan's dungeon quizzes.
Journalist Dan's quiz, something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But we've adapted and we've made ways to stay connected, which are, a bit of fun. And now everyone's got this excitement of coming back to what is going to be at, this beautiful new HQ. And it's just driven that like urge to get back into the office. But yeah, back to the beginning, the people and kind of that culture that we've created is just so crucial to allow us to do what we do.
And Dan, you mentioned earlier the 100%, the fact you've grown organically. I mean, so often we hear fast growth businesses, X amount of funds raised at such and such a cost for equity, etc. So the dilution is just non-stop, but you guys have grown this organically. Is that something that is really important to you, that you keep the independence, the organic growth as long as you can?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of companies obviously get investors on very early days, and you can't replicate like a true founder's business. Do you know what I mean? As soon as you kind of take the founders out of a lot of businesses, you kind of lose the spark.
Yeah.
Not sounded like big-headed or something, but a lot of the culture and just like almost bootstrapping a business from the start, and the excitement comes from having the original people in the company. As soon as you start putting corporate bodies in there and processes, it becomes a lot of, it starts to become unfun. So to create that kind of, internal hype and excitement, is definitely key, 100%. And obviously we'll keep that for as long as we can. It's inevitable that as you scale and you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you do have to start putting more processes in place because there's more people. So you've got to start putting layers in place. But our whole idea behind it is to try and strip those processes back as much as possible. So we run on a very flat structure. It's not an old school hierarchy where you've got to go through 10 layers to get any kind of decision. We try and keep everything flat. There's no separated offices. Everyone's on the same floor. It's all open, which I think helps growth.
Yeah. May I just come to the fact that you have grown your business as a strictly online business? So you don't have, again, please correct if I'm wrong, I'm not aware that you have any physical stores as such. This is a website business. The e-commerce business is, in the purest sense. Now there'll be a lot of people's ears pricking up as they hear that, because obviously, as a result of COVID and the huge impact that has had on retailing, the high street, etc., for firms to now really be able to move on and really kick on in terms of getting momentum again and growing, the ability to master that mysterious art of online selling is a very important one. Now you guys have nailed it. Maybe we've covered it in things that we've been speaking about, but is there anything that really jumps out to you in terms of how people achieve that? What hope can we give? What advice can we give to people out there who in the months and years ahead now have to nail that strategy?
I think a lot of the old school companies are starting to come around to the digital age and social media marketing. They obviously took ages to get on board with it, hence why they're still playing catch up essentially. I think it's hard to say from our point of view because we were extremely lucky in regards to the generation that we were brought up in. So we were brought up with social media and e-commerce and technology. Couldn't have been placed at a better time. Timing plays a massive factor in any company's success, especially one that grows at our rate. So I think it would be unfair to sit here and go, "Oh, what you should do," because we were so privileged in regards to our age, and we're coming to the top end of our demographic now. Don't get me wrong, but we are still our target consumer.
Who are you kidding?
And like I say,
it's so easy. Could be any more obvious that you're young people, but there we go.
But yeah, we were like early 20s, and Instagram was absolutely flying. Facebook was flying. E-commerce was really starting to boom, and obviously, the logistics behind it as well was actually becoming feasible. It was the peak and the pinnacle of e-commerce.
Yeah. So there's 5 years in the making so far, 5 years that you have been on this very exciting journey. Tell us about the future. I mean, you tell me as far as you want to go into the future, months or years, but what's in store? Because Solihull has a habit of creating some very famous businesses in this particular in retail, and of course really alluding to Gymshark, but your mission is to create, what did you say, the world's biggest underwear business, was that right?
Yeah, essentially the world's biggest underwear brand is I guess our end goal.
What's the future like?
It's so hard to say because obviously a lot of people ask this question about the goals and stuff, and essentially my end goal is to build the biggest underwear brand in the world. It doesn't particularly matter to me how quickly it takes to get there. It could take my whole lifetime. It's just about that end goal. It's so hard to predict. Like I say, if you've been running a company for the last 20 years and you've been going 20% year on year, it's so easy to go, okay, this is what we can achieve. This is what we can kind of plan. But when it's such a short time span, it's such a savage growth. It's so hard to predict things. We've obviously got key marketing and product initiatives that we want to roll out over the next 12 months. And then we put a lot of investment into sustainability as well in regards to recycled and sustainable materials, which not many underwear brands do. Obviously, it's becoming more of it's gaining more traction in regards to apparel companies. but very few underwear companies are doing it. And I think that's something that me and Mel are passionate about personally as well. So it becomes easy to then push into the business. It's not just from a corporate and social responsibility point of view. It's actually like a passion. But yeah, it's essentially scaling as fast as we can, as quickly as we can, worldwide. We've seen particularly intense growth through Europe, like France and Germany, the last 12 months, which we're really going to push this year. But yeah, it's worldwide as a focus. Obviously, the UK being our home is still a focus and still our biggest territory. But yeah.
I was just going to say, for me, this goes back to that conversation we had at the beginning around Dan and I essentially owning our lane, I suppose, within the business. Because when Dan talks about being the biggest, it's essentially market share, monetary value, being the biggest brand in the world. Whereas I can still use that terminology about being the biggest brand in the world, but it means something slightly different. And I think that is, again, it's that perfect duo that allow us to do what we do. So the biggest for me might mean the biggest community with the biggest values, the biggest heart. The way we talk to people is with the most intentional voice that people can actually have an experience with it that goes way past a product. Essentially, that we are more of it's a community, and it's back to that female family. But making sure that to hold on to that, as Dan talks about this rapid growth, but ensuring that we can hold on to those morals and those values that we had right at the beginning of the brand, that started with just the two of us, as we've touched on. That's where I sit and make sure that I'm running along, making sure it goes to plan.
You both seem extremely, obviously, very excited about this. And is there anything that makes you nervous about talking like that? With global domination and what have you. And I don't know, is there just sometimes you think, blimey, we're playing a massive game here? Does doubt ever creep in there, or are you guys just always, the belief is strong, you're going to do it? Just finally, just your kind of mentality towards that. What is that like?
The only thing that makes me nervous, so I'm going to butt in before Dan on this one, is Dan, right? So we know each other incredibly well now, and obviously that is, again, one of the key tokens of allowing us to do what we do. But the main thing I'm nervous about is, God, where is it going to go next? So, because obviously those goals that he talks about, and right at the root of our relationship, he's always wanted to build something, right? It doesn't matter what it is, he's going to build something. So it's Dan's brain that frightens me, because it really, honestly, he is so incredibly ambitious that is the only frightening bit. But that is also so exciting, and we kind of just hook arms, and it sounds so cliche, but it's so interesting. Just look, I can almost hear his brain tick sometimes through the night, and I'm thinking, are you asleep, or are you like, what kind of mad idea are you coming up with next? And he'll wake up and he'll go, I've got a really good idea that I want to talk to you about. And I'm thinking, oh God, what now? So yeah, that's my answer to your question.
I love it. That's just so honest. I love it. And Dan, what is your response to that? Is your brain loudly ticking with world domination as you're sleeping?
Like I said, you never really turn off. And I think if you want it that bad, I guess, and want to scale at our rate, it's a lifestyle. It's not really a job. The only thing that makes me nervous is, so we push the company every year. We try and push it as hard as we possibly can, but it's that balance of, you don't want to push it too hard for essentially to implode, and obviously take the responsibility of everyone that works here very seriously in their livelihoods, and take that responsibility on my shoulders. But it's the only thing that makes me nervous, like I say, is how hard you push it. It's a big balance. If you've got, like I said earlier, if you can grow 50% or 100%, and when you're talking about the numbers that we are now, there's such a big difference between those growth figures and those end revenue figures and essentially profit, it's very hard to know how hard to push and how aggressive to go with it. But nothing apart from that really worries me. No.
Guys, it's been so good talking to you. I know that you're incredibly busy with everything that you're doing at the moment, and so to give us your time like you have, we're so grateful. We've learned some fantastic little nuggets and some insights there. But most importantly, I just think it's an interesting. I think it's so exciting that we've got two people that, guys, I'm going to sound really corny, but you guys clearly love each other, which is just so lovely to see. It works so well in business as a couple. And you're creating a business that is just going to proudly fly that British flag for us. And so just wish you all the very best. I cannot wait to hear and see everything you're going to be doing in the months and years ahead. And if it's okay, we've got to come to your office and check out this gorgeous new office. Is it open yet? Is it obviously, I mean, what's the latest on?
So it's going through renovations at the moment. I think it's going to be ready back end of May. But of course, more than welcome to come around. Love to have you to show you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can look at ours because we're pretty proud of ours as well. It was featured in the Times top coolest offices, top 10 coolest offices in the UK. So we're proud of ours as well. So you'll have to go to a bit of office checking out.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the guys that kitted out your office are kitting out ours.
Oh, so really? Let's shout out to them then. It's principled, yeah?
Yeah, those are the guys, yeah.
The guys, yeah.
All the very best. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks very much. It's been lovely to talk to you too.
Thank you.